Hello, today we're going to talk about SDG2, the number 17 partnership for the goals, and we're going to compare the US and Sweden. So for the partnership for the goals, it has 19 targets and 25 indicators. Revitalizing the global partnership for sustainable development is the purpose for number 17. As the UN explains, it's a successful sustainable development agenda requiring partnerships between governments across the countries, in the private sector, and civil society. These partnerships are built upon principles and values and a shared vision and shared goals that will help bring up the economies from other underdeveloped countries and bring them to the center. So we'll start with Target 17.1. Mobilizing resources to improve domestic revenue collection. And we have 17.11 and 17.12. That's going to talk about revenue and taxes in order to help develop those, the country themselves, and then work towards developing the underdeveloped countries. 17.11 being government revenue, which defines government revenue as a total government revenue as a proportion of GDP, gross domestic product. Revenue being cash receipts from taxes, social contributions, and other revenues such as fines, fees, rent, and income from property or sales. So within the US, 17.63% total. They have 17.63% of total GDP in 2020, where it's almost double in Sweden with 32.73%. Moving on to the domestic taxes, proportion of domestic budget funded by domestic taxes, which will include tax revenue and compulsory transfers to the central government for public purposes. Other transfers such as fines, penalties, and other social security contributions would be excluded in this. But as you can see, Sweden is almost triple the times of the US, so the US has 9.96% of total GDP in 2020, whereas Sweden had 27.3% of GDP in 2019. So moving forward, talking more about the implementation of developing assistance commitments to those other underdeveloped countries. The goal or the target is to have 7% of gross national income for official development assistance to developing countries and 0.15 to 0.20% to least developed countries. So 17.2.1 is the development assistance to the least developed countries. As of right now, 1.02% of GDP in 2017. Sweden is leading with that through all the countries that have been assessed for this indicator. With target 17.3, it still continues on with mobilizing financial resources for those developing countries. So foreign direct investment and official development assistance and self-cooperation as a proportion of total domestic budget. The goal is again to mobilize additional financial resources for developing countries by 2030, which would refer to direct investment equity flows in an economy. So the sum of equity, capital, reinvestment of earnings, and other capital. Right now, again, Sweden is leading very far ahead with 5.4% of GDP in 2020, and the US trailing behind in 1.49% of GDP in 2020. Now, moving further into the technology and cooperation aspect, number 17.6 is knowledge sharing and cooperation for access to science, technology, and innovation. So to try and build the technology, science, knowledge, the sharing of information amongst the country and within the countries, especially as we look at building up those underdeveloped countries. one aspect of the technology is 17.6.1, which is fixing broadband subscriptions. So the goal is to have enhanced north-south and south-south triangular regional international cooperation on access to science, technology, and innovation by 2030. To do this, they want to fix internet broadband subscriptions per 100 inhabitants, or that's what we're looking at. And just being able to get high-speed access to the internet. So the US actually isn't too far behind Sweden in this one, where they have 41.38 per 100 people in 2020. So mind mapping some of these targets, we were talking about global information technology and the different resources like artificial intelligence, 5G, and Internet of Things, and looking at the 17 partnerships for the goals. I believe you could use artificial intelligence to use machine learning to quickly calculate total government revenue and use analytics within the country to project future revenue that may assist with reaching those 0.7 and 15 to 0.20% goals to help with the underdeveloped countries. You could also use 5G to assist with high-speed access to public internet and connecting people to devices for learning within the developed and underdeveloped countries. You can also use the Internet of Things and 5G for real-time mobilization of financial resources that are used to assist the developing countries. That is what I have for SDG2. Thank you.